the chairman calling out FEMA, saying, hey, you're not a criminal organization. You can't hide behind, well, this is an ongoing investigation. You can tell us you're FEMA. You can tell us what you're investigating, who you're investigating. Remember, this employee said it was broader than just her, but that's not what we're hearing from Criswell. What are your thoughts so far, Senator?
When people are caught, then they start to manufacture a cover-up story. And I thought it was very telling that this employee who was fired has given interviews and said, don't point your finger at me. I was told to pass this information on. And that was pretty much what was given to her. So through this investigation that you're seeing in the House now, and the Senate will be able to take up after January 3rd, you're going to see FEMA have to answer, and some of these career employees have to answer for what they have done. But one of the questions should be, how in heaven's name could you have used a year's worth of money in 2 weeks after the start of the fiscal year? And then you're saying we're out of money. Getting answers as to what they did with that money, where they used that money, what the obligations were, the rate of response to places like Tennessee. We were on our 8th day of the storm before FEMA even held a phone call with our mayors in the affected counties. So they should approach and treat and work with every single county, every single city, every single town and village, and every individually equally, and not disadvantage people because they assume they have a political leaning.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're dealing with hurricane or storm victims who potentially have lost everything. They need assistance immediately, regardless of where they fall on the political spectrum. I'm sure it's the last thing they're thinking about. Newsmax actually spoke with that now fired FEMA employee, that's Marnie Washington, over the weekend. She claimed she was simply following FEMA protocol. Here's part of that conversation.
This is all the way at the top of FEMA. The hurricane relief was already in action before I even arrived to Florida. I was on 2 different teams. The first team, I was not even the lead, and this was the practice in order to keep people safe. Unfortunately, the community trends for hostile political encounters just so happened to have campaign signages in front of their homes. We had enough grievances documented that people did not feel welcome or safe. We cannot subject our employees to hostile work environments. My TFL states all the time that you want to make sure people feel safe, that they feel comfortable. So this is not an isolated incident. These are safety precautions that are taken with any disaster. And that's why I have called on all of my fellow crew leads and my specialists to come forward and tell their stories.
Senator, what's your reaction to that explanation?
Well, there again, she is pointing the finger at headquarters and saying this is their position. And to avoid anyone you think would be hostile to what you, the individual, have as your beliefs. What we want to do is make certain that FEMA carries out their mission, which is to be first on the ground and there to help people that have been adversely impacted by a natural or a national disaster. And if they can't do that, then maybe the Department of Government Efficiency needs to start looking at how they reorganize FEMA. Now, I will say this, once we got FEMA on the ground in Upper East Tennessee, by and large, they have been good to work with our counties. We do still have instances where they are not providing full information or providing clarification of how resources can be utilized. But the goal is we've got 1,500 homes that have been destroyed that need to be repaired. We've got hundreds of businesses that have been shut down that need to be reopened. We've got roads and bridges that have been washed away, and people in communities have stepped up to repair it enough to